The reason why, um, I don't know what happened it's weird how it happened in the past. In the modern era, the Messiah, he's the one who understands, well, life's eternal, grace is infinite. Okay, well, that's from the past. But the whole thing about, okay, you know how people tell you, hey, we don't talk that way about it. It's like, you want my testimony? Okay. Well, then I'm going to say it the way I said it because, of God's omniscient and omnipotent. That's how I said it before God. So I'm not going to lie to change the past to appease you because you're not God, you know. So if you ask for my testimony and ask for my life and to hear about my life and to talk to me about it, you're going to get it the way I said it. I'm not going to say it the way you want me to say it to appease you, right? That's not how I talked. That's not what was said. That's not what went down. So I'm not going to lie. I don't lie about what I said and did to Jesus. So I ain't going to lie about it to accommodate you, right? And that's why I was the guy that Jesus chose. But I think I was already genetically predisposed. But, so when I went to Sierra Vista, Arizona, and Fort Huachuca and dealt with them, that's how I rearranged the entire U.S. military and the entire world of technology, the way people in the world use technology. You can't lie. And one of the big ones was, because I tried to fit in, and I understand you guys, I tell them stories, in the military, some of the guys, but it was about my friends, and I didn't get deployed. And then I knew from their reactions, because they knew about me, I was trying to fit in, and it wasn't me, it was Mitch, stuff like that. But the funny thing about it is those stories were military stories. The stories that I couldn't tell about the military, about the biker, about the Ku Klux Klan and cruises, getting counted coup on, those stories were even more impressive, okay, than what happened to the people in the military. They got put in that because of a bunch of assholes. I was just being a good person and got put in difficult situations because of Ku Klux Klan assholes and biker assholes and Crips at Casamia and stuff and all the stuff I ran into. People just didn't, when push came to shove, little old King David Earlybird, he jumped up and did his thing, right? So, but it's interesting to me. It's disturbing. It's more disturbing than interesting. Like when you watch these big, get-togethers. We had the big math get-together, the Nobel Prize things and all that stuff. It's like you are aware that I'm alive, right? And what I've done and what I'm doing and what. Okay. Really. And the big one is acting propaganda, right? You do. It's like that guy told me at Las Cruces Biologicals, you want to meet Denzel Washington and Edward Norton? You knew they'd play you in a movie and they suck at it because they're just playing you a movie and and I didn't understand it at the time because I was like, no, I've never had to kill anyone like Mr. McCall. That's because people are terrified of you. Oh, I didn't know that. And then it's weird because it's not weird. It's disturbing the way all this Big Brother Orwell thing works. Is that people that are complete chicken shits feel okay with going and being real shitty to me and cocky with me, like Jesus during the crucifixion. And they mocked him and put him in a purple robe and all that stuff. And in a week before, he ran probably half of them out of Solomon's temple with a whip, and stuff. And so but it's very consistent. It's very consistent the way that the Messiah works with people. And the Messiah doesn't want to be a badass. He loves you. He wants you to be a gracious good shepherd. And, can you imagine meeting the guy like King David, reading a comic book that a bunch of peckerwoods on a pushy plantation of child molesting bank wrote? This is what he said in the Romans that crucified him. And then he tells you the real deal because he's the living word and he talks to the others like him in the past. And then you take Constantine's comic book and Jerome's comic book and say, no, that's not what he said. He said this. No, he didn't. He said this. This is what he did. Okay. And so the fuck for the buck stops here. I'm the way, truth, and life. I'm the living embodiment of the Lord's Prayer. Okay. So I tell people what goes down. I talked to Jesus. I talked to David. I talked to Daniel. I talked to Moses. I'm Earl from the book of Revelation. If you want to understand what really happened, see, the big thing with me is, when I went to Sierra Vista, I understood a lot of people's perspective because I don't believe in mythology. That was my big contention point when talking to Mom when I was about 4 years old with all the stories at the Mormon church. Was Jonah and and a lot of the other stories, that's cartoons, Mom. That doesn't happen in real life. That's Superman. And these people believe it. It's like, it's a cartoon. It's not real. There ain't a leprechaun. There ain't a pot of gold. The Banshee. That shit's all bullshit, right? I knew as a kid, even though the stories and they were creepy and they would scare you and all that stuff, I still would tell myself, no, that's not real. And the little voice in my head that's Jesus, no, Earl, Jack Palance and Dracula's and so he'd always tell me, no, Earl, no. Okay. No. Okay. He would always calm me down and tell me, though, that's all just scary stories to scare people and it's not true. Okay. But then when I saw, when a stranger calls and, they checked the children and he was in the closet and then he was next to the bed then I jumped over, did the backflip thing over the chair. I was like, Mom, that's creepy. That shit could really happen. That's some creepy shit, right? And it is. It's very creepy when people do things that disgusting, that creepy. Okay. It's creepier, than the bone temple 28 years later. What's creepy now is that we got people that sit there and you guys call heroes and they'll go get in machines and go mass murder people to manipulate people with money and virtual presence in their house with technology to keep manipulating with the money. That's creepy. That's creepier than Jack Palance being Dracula and Boris Karloff being Frankenstein and stuff, because it's really happening and it's gross. And it's not the Lord's Prayer, and it's not the Messiah, and it's not Muhammad, right? It's gross that we sit there and you guys vote in popularity contest over their prostitution, murder, extortion, exploitation money rather than stand up for the Lord's Prayer, for living Messiah that redeems the gospel. Shit. Okay. And I get to a point where it's like you can't feel sorry for your family anymore because you tell them over and over again, hey, get up and do what I'm doing because it's right. It's good. It's true. And they will sit there and you will live the Gospels, and David Rockefeller and the scientists will collect the Gospels, and they will do everything in their manipulative capacity. Okay, not power. God is power. To try to manipulate you and make you be like them. And you ask Jesus for help and he says, Earl, just leave the room and do this. And okay. And the girl that will follow your lead, and nothing will happen that makes either one of you uncomfortable. Okay, thank you. Any of the stuff that did happen, no, it doesn't make me uncomfortable. No, it was being manipulated by scientists. And, I was uncomfortable at the time. Now, no, it wasn't us. It was them. It wouldn't have happened if we were living the Lord's Prayer. And if they'd listened to me when I said, hey, let's do this, instead of trying to challenge me and say, well, turn you into Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and Barack Obama. It's like, no, you won't. No. I didn't think Barack Obama was as big of an asshole as he is. And that was disappointing. But, most of my family quotes Constantine and Jerome's comic book, the people that killed Jesus and then turned him into a Roman mythological god. And then, as far as the crucifixion goes, and the resurrection, guys, like I told Val on the way home, if Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg can clone themselves, does that make them God? Yeah. It's a resurrection. They overcame death. Does that make them a God? No, because they use science to do it. Didn't God give them science to do it? Okay, so obviously being resurrected in the front, and what did Jesus say? You crying over this clay, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We're meant to have the lack of sacrifice so we can carry on our wayward son. There'll be peace when you're done. All we are is dust in the wind, bro. And so is so we can, you have to have faith that through holy covenants of faithful religions, that the soul will be provided a temple through the faithful people that keep holy covenants. Adam, Moses, David, Jesus, John. Adam, Moses, David, Jesus, John. Adam, Moses, David, Jesus, John. Holy Quran. Batman. Do you understand? It says in the Quran that Muhammad is the eternal spirit of Father Abraham. Melchizedek, Malachi, okay, Abraham, Melchizedek, Malachi, Muhammad, right? Through the line of Adam. Okay. He's one of the quote unquote nephews of Adam. So the first one is Adam, Moses, David, Jesus, John. And it says that in the Quran. Okay. What Muhammad is telling you through the spirit of Abraham is this is, the first one was Adam, and I'm one of the nephews of Adam that carries on his faith faithfully, and that's beautiful. It's wonderful, wonderful, like Nesta, he's a good kid too. Yeah. He's a beautiful man. Yeah. And so it's frustrating, and it is very frustrating. But as I was watching this stuff today with Glenn Beck and Elon Musk and that other guy, they made their choices, just like my family, And you can't go back in time and get them to see. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because 2 plus 2 is 4, and life's eternal and grace is infinite. 1 and 1 is 2. And the Patriot Act allows okay. And you explain things in intimate detail to people, what they're doing to you, what's happening to you. You go to sleep, they try to reboot you and reload you. They told me in Sierra Vista, we can program them like they program video game, and we can't get them to do nothing they want to do. And they mocked about it and they laughed. And then I had other people come and tell me, well, you can't fix stupid. These people are stupid. It's like, you can fix stupid. I've done stupid things before and I stopped doing it. Yeah. So, like when you touch the stove, ow, that burned. Okay. Don't do it again. If he'd been wearing a sign, I would have stopped, with the tailpipe, And also, yeah, so you can fix stupid. Typically, it's like my dad, I don't know is a good excuse. Trouble is, it only works once, right? And so it's life being eternal, grace being infinite. It's weird that people don't understand about eternity and about the soul sharing life eternally through holy covenants and temples for the soul. Not genetic breeding, not genetic sequencing through selective breeding, but through love, through holy covenants. There was a girl, there was a boy, right? So it's I'm content with my actions and my faithful love. Okay. We're not living the Lord's Prayer, and people aren't being humble enough to accept the beauty of my life and the courage of my kindness. And so I'm not content because, children deserve the beauty of my life and the courage of my kindness, and not the manipulation of the people that tried to make me look like a pervert. And they're the damn perverts, and they know it. I think what it is, because like what I got with the people at Fort Huachuca, they can't fix stupid, these people are, and they were always coming, they were always trying to get me to accept their egotistical perception instead of listen to me because I'm the line of King David, right? And I wasn't trying to get them to listen to me, okay? To say, I am right, I am God, I am the all-knowing, all-seeing Allspark, like I did with the young man from Ali's family from Iraq. And I kept telling him what I knew about the Quran. And he kept telling, no, you're wrong. I said, no, don't. I want you to tell me what you know about the teachings that people, how you see the teachings of the Quran. I talk to Muhammad. I don't read the Quran. Okay. So I'm telling you what Muhammad tells me. I'm not telling you what's in the book. I want you to tell me what the people are thinking and believing in Iraq, right? He kept telling me, no, I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm telling you my prayers I have with Muhammad. Okay. I haven't read the Quran. I talked to Muhammad. Okay. But they're all like sitting there. They think I read the Quran because I talked to the Muhammad. Yeah. Like that one guy, he said, you've obviously read the Bible more than me. No, I talked to Jesus. Okay. Talked to David. Yeah. Moses. John. Yeah. Moses, we don't talk as much. No. Because when we got to a certain point, I was busy doing things in the future. And we already dealt with Moses and said, here's what's going to happen. Here's what you need to do. Boom. And that was it. Moses is very much a pragmatist. And all Moses was concerned with is, how do I get these 50,000 bitch and scream and want to go back to being slaves people from point A to point B, and cops stop them from going back to New York instead of going out to Green Acres. Basically was Moses' thing. He's the best. I don't give a crap about digital this and quirks and these. I don't know. I don't need to know any of that shit. That doesn't apply here. That doesn't apply anything. Quantum computing. I don't care. I don't want to hear any of that shit you guys are talking about. Just tell me, help me get 50,000 slaves from point A to point B, and that's he asked for help. And we said, okay, well, you do this and this, So we pretty much just basically, so there wasn't a lot. When I talked to Moses, it was more Robert Redford and no, it was better than that. It was better than Diamonds and Rust too. So, our full of goes into white clouds and mingles in the air. He just let me know that he didn't want to go back to Egypt because he loves Sephora so much and how beautiful Sephora was. And it's not like from a movie. It's just like little, things that they did for one another and that they did, in protecting and taking care of each other. And when I hear things, when I look at it, it's in their time and their vernacular and their understanding and the way they speak. Okay. But the way I see it, it kind of translates when he tells me a memory. I see it and it plays out on the screen the way I would see it. So it'd be like in a movie. Okay. And Zephora, and she's a brown woman. She's from Jethro's tribe, and they're dark, and but she's wonderful. Yeah, she's a beautiful wife. Jesus, the same thing with Mary Magdalene with me, and me and Law and Steffi and everybody that I tried to be with, we weren't allowed that privacy and that intimacy that Mary Magdalene had with Jesus and that Zephora had with Moses and that David had with some of his wives and stuff. And so we weren't allowed, I was surveillance studied by scientists that are jealous and insane my whole existence. And most kids after Y2K, no, they don't. Okay, because it's like, you don't have any privacy. I get all that. Okay, guys, I'm the guy from the book of Revelation, okay? Every asshole in the world who thinks they have the greatest mind in the world, okay, and has something to do with espionage is in my bathroom, my bedroom, in my head, and they won't go away and they won't shut up, okay? You think it's hard being you, try being me, okay? It's impossible to ask a baby not to cry, it's just impossible. It's really hard, and most people can't comprehend it. And then trying to be the women in my life. Okay, trying to be Raquel Sally, Yolanda Denise Gilliard, even Tara Cornett. Okay. Things got intimate, and we got really close, and we were, romantic and affectionate. And so that would be very hard. You're kissing the guy like King David, and all the guys in the Mormon church are jealous of him and watching him, and they're in their 80s and 90s and 50s, and he's doing everything wrong. It's like, God dang. And it was even worse because of the Wi-Fi at Fort Huachuca. He's doing that wrong. He's doing that wrong. Look, motherfucker, who is standing up for the Lord's Prayer in the bowels of hell, having everybody manipulate him in the worst ways, okay? And the only way he has to get through it is just to talk to eternal spirit of the Lord to help him through. And I'm doing it wrong? Okay, you have a job spying on my house, watching my family be manipulated with technology over money, and I'm saying, hey, let's just get up and stand up for the Lord's Prayer, and you're not doing that, and I'm doing it wrong? Do you know what a fucking ass you are? And I have to explain it to you. You Muslim scientist, you Christian scientist, you Hindu scientist, you Shinto scientist, you Buddhist and whatever scientist. All you assholes. Namaste your ass out of the place. Okay, you're creeps. I'm not that affectionate of the Dalai Lama. I see the Dalai Lama as Pope Leo. He has a personal jet and a personal physician. He's flown around by the witch. He's thrown around by the witch people, and he's like Eckhart Tolle. Oh, and then he says things that sound critical, but he doesn't do a damn thing to offer any viable solutions to stop his criticism of them. Okay. I love everybody, but people like that really piss me the hell off. Why don't you get up and do something similar to the Buddha? Okay. Get up and walk away. Get up and say, no, I won't do this. This is horrible. I will not be flown around the world by rich people to talk to rich people about nonsense and offer no suggestions, pragmatic suggestions or solutions to the nonsense. That's horrid. What man in his right mind would fly around and be catered to by the rich to kiss their ass because he's afraid they're going to kill him, and he appreciates the stuff they do with his money to make him feel important? What man in his right mind does that? I ask you. Okay. Do you see why Earl from the book of Revelation is the one they consider to be like Adam, Moses, David, Jesus, John? The Redeemer at 1322, the Redeemer of the Gospels, the Redeemer of the Messiahs. Why Muhammad said this guy's so important. Why Krishnamurti was supposed to, connect to him. They see us as like telekinetics or psychics. And so when I was in Sierra Vista, the way I could connect to everybody, what they were doing to me, they saw it as like cheating on the test. It's like, there is no test. Just like I said, live the Lord's Prayer. That's what we got to do to avoid all the crappy stuff in the book of Revelation, is live the Lord's Prayer. Apply it in physics. It's not timed yet. Wrong answer, asshole. You're an asshole. And that's why Jesus told me. Jesus told me that. Okay. When they sent me to the dump on my grandma's funeral and left me and the kids at home, and everybody went to Fort Bliss and didn't take me and the kids, and sent me to the dump of all the stuff they took out of her apartment they didn't want. And I was like, what's going on? Jesus goes, they're assholes, Earl. And I go, who? All of them. And I'm like, Jesus, that's my family. He goes, Earl, Joseph's family did what? Okay. Okay. Muhammad's family did what? Okay, I get it. Jesus, your mother and your brother want you. Where is my brethren? Right? I'm like, okay, Jesus. Okay. That's why he tells me a lot of times, you're too nice. Yeah, I understand. I'm not being too nice. I just realized how bad these people are being abused by pervert scientists worse than ever before. And it's happening to me, so it's happening to them. And how many times have you told me Jesus Christ in my head to listen to you? But how many times have you told others like Saladin and all that, don't judge him. Yeah, he's always listening to music. Yeah, he's always joking. But this is his time and his people, and he knows what he's doing. I love you, Jesus. Thank you. Okay. You're the best. He's not God. He's a human being. He's helping me through this. The same way I had to talk to him when in Sierra Vista, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. I don't want to go. I don't want to be crucified. I can get up and walk away. I'm innocent. I should not be murdered for being brave, kind, courageous, and innocent. These Sadducees and these Pharisees and that Herod, that little punk, should not be able to sit and smirk and watch me be tortured for being brave, kind, faithful, and innocent to protect the children from their sin. That's wrong. They should get up and do it with me. Why are they not doing it? Why are they not going to do it, Earl? Because they think they're going to be able to get away with it. All things being relative, you guys, when you do something, you don't get away with it. It's Pascal's wager. What you do, you cause. Okay? So when you accept idolatry and murder over idolatry, you cause that hell. When you accept the Lord's Prayer and the perfection of the perfect commands for the kingdom of heaven, you help cause that heaven. You're the cause of hell because you won't stand up for the Lord's Prayer and help usher in the kingdom of heaven. Okay? If I have to be the cause of heaven with those assholes' technology, by the time they get to the singularity and we go AGI and then I wouldn't worry about having money because no one will ask you for it. Because it's wrong. Because share, care, given accordance, need, built to last. Life's eternal, grace is infinite. We need something done. You get the people to get it done and you do it right. Not to be excessive, not to be compulsive, not to have virtual presence, to manipulate people with money and technology and domiciles that should have privacy for people to have private intimacy, romance, and time with their children. Not buy a house, closer to your extortion factory where you're all being murdered by industrialization with cancer and heart disease and diabetes, but build a house and live in that house and work in the garden, spend more time with your kids than you do appeasing assholes that abuse you and your children into accepting extortion exploitation and into being psychotic, irrational, selfish, narcissistic trained consumers that want to shine above the rest by being the top gladiator, the top butt shaker, the top faker, the top propaganda artiste. And then say, hey, Mom, thanks for teaching me to be a propaganda artiste. I got 4 awards. 4 awards. You got 4 walk awards sitting in your house. Children are still getting murdered because of conflict over money with technology. And you got 4 rock awards sitting in your house from being one of the biggest propaganda tool bags in the history of turd bagging. And you're proud of that, and you want to thank your mom? Tell your mom, Mom, if we don't stand up for the Lord's Prayer, we are nothing but a big pile of shit. And I don't want that for you because I adore you, and I want you to live the Lord's Prayer forever, Mom. I love you. I'm not a sinner. I'm a man. Okay? Nobody loves people and their mommies more than me. Okay? So take all your acting awards and go melt them down and make them into something that will help children have something to sustain their existence through faithful love. Make some, maybe eating bowl or something out of it. Something that sit there, Michael B. Jordan melted this down so I could eat peanuts out of it, instead of him sit there and think that his propaganda was better than the love of Ralph Earl Parsons Jr., our Redeemer. Thank you. Okay. Hey, Fort Huachuca is what it is and still is. And if you want to be part of It's Time for Change to live the Lord's Prayer, you better stop trying to hide behind your Tom Clancy novels.